I'm gonna write you a love song, 'cause you asked me to, 'cause you need one, you see. Welcome, let's be honest, peeps. We're going to be talking about our second part, discussing mental illness. We're going to talk about bipolar disorder. Some famous people who have bipolar disorder include Catherine Zeta-Jones, Britney Spears. And all of them are able to cope in a very healthy way despite their illness. Because they are not their illness, they are human beings. We are human beings. So, bipolar disorder is a psychological disorder where you can have mania, where you can have a very elevated mood, you can have depression, very low mood. Generally, when you have mania, you can have something called racing thoughts, where you have one thought right after the other and a chain of thoughts and rapid fire thinking of your neurons. And you can't even pinpoint what you're thinking about because it's going so fast. You can also have increased energy. So you might feel like you can run 3 miles when you've never run 3 miles. And somehow you do, but then the next day, just not feeling good from it. You can also have hypersexuality, where you feel very sexual, very, very sexual. And you might even hit on people you didn't really want to hit on. So we don't want that. And also, you are extremely happy when you're manic. Very happy. And some people, and you get really attracted to that happiness. And sometimes you make a lot of different friends you didn't even know you were going to make. But then you end up losing usually a lot of those friends because you made relationships that you didn't want to make. And then you can be depressed, which we talked about in our previous video, where you have depression, you're very sad, sometimes suicidal thinking. You can have low energy levels, feel like you want to nap the whole day, just feel tired, irritable. And you can have irritability in mania, and you can have irritability in depression. You can even have something called a mixed episode, where it's mania combined with depression. In a mixed episode, you can feel so energetic, you're going to explode out of your skin, but you can feel so tired that you can't even move to expend that energy. It's a very uncomfortable state. All three are uncomfortable states. So what do you do about bipolar disorder? Well, scientists have found that lithium, which is an element on the periodic table of elements, can help to stabilize mood. Hence, it is called a mood stabilizer. Stabilize. You can also have carbamazepine, which is also called Tegretol or Trileptal. They're both in the same class of anti-manic agents. They're also both anti-epileptic medications. What's similarity between mania and epilepsy is that there's too much activity going on in your brain. And so carbamazepine, Tegretol, Trileptal want to diminish that amount of activity going in your brain. When you're depressed, you don't have a lot of activity going on in your brain. When you're depressed, your hippocampus, where you store memories, you're not able to access memories as much. Your amygdala is blaring its lights. Prefrontal cortex is chopped. When you're manic, your prefrontal cortex is going, you're doing a lot of thinking, but your decision making in your prefrontal cortex is kind of chopped off because you're not making very good decisions. You might be doing 10 different projects at once, and you never finish any of them. So what are you feeling when you're manic? Well, you feel like you can run the world. You might even have delusions. Delusions are unrealistic thoughts. You might think you're the Messiah. You might think you're Jesus or Muhammad. You might think that you can communicate with aliens. Or you might have hallucinations, auditory from your temporal lobes, or visual from your occipital lobes. And we'll go more into hallucinations and delusions in our next video when we talk about schizophrenia. So besides medication, though, what can you do? Well, For mania, exercise. Do safe exercise, not too much. You have to be able to limit the amount of exercise you do, even though you want to do a lot. You tend to expend some of that energy. Be productive. Do something that you need to do, like homework or work on stuff that outside of your work that you need to do, so that you're able to expend that energy and focus it. Also, writing your thoughts down works with mania. Just write down all those racing thoughts if you can that are going through your head. And for depression, cognitive behavioral therapy works, so being able to recognize those negative thought patterns. And one really important therapy is called dialectical behavioral therapy, where it focuses on emotional regulation. Because when you have bipolar disorder, your amygdala is kind of going crazy. You have not a lot of emotional regulation going on. So you can do workbooks, do self-help, or you can talk to your therapist about emotional regulation, otherwise known as dialectical behavioral therapy. Mindfulness meditation, like we spoke about in the previous video, also works. Just being able to recognize those racing thoughts or those negative thought patterns, being able to feel those uncomfortable emotions, or being able to have those physical anxiety symptoms with depression, just being able to sit with them and recognize them. So, thank you for joining me talking about bipolar disorder. Again, you are not your bipolar disorder. You are a human being. Let's be honest about this. Not gonna write you a love song 'cause you asked for it, 'cause you need one. Yes, see.